Beach Tourist Agency claims that the percentage of days in the winter when the highest daily temperature exceeds 75 degrees is more than 80%. So that's their claim. A random sample of 250 days reveals that 212 days our highest daily temperature exceeds 75 degrees. Can we infer that the 10% significance level of the tourist agency is correct? Okay, so for number 9, as we always do, we're going to start out with, what are we trying to prove here? Right, we're trying to prove the alternative that the percentage of days over 75 degrees is greater than 80%. So P is greater than 80%. So those are our two hypotheses. Because it's greater than, what kind of tell test do we have? Very good, it's a right tell test. We said we're doing this at the 10% significance level. So I'm going to set this up in terms of Z. And that means, looking at that table, the rejection region starts at 1.28. Is everyone good with where all those things came from? Yes? So where is my evidence? You know, if I look here, where is the evidence that I gathered? Show me where the evidence is. What is the evidence that I gathered? Good, Robbie. Yeah, exactly. So I sampled 250 days. Oops, I got to zoom out. I sampled 250 days, and out of those 250 days, 212 were above 75 degrees. So that means P hat is 212 divided by 250, which gives me 0.848. Is that what you guys got? So that's my P hat. So my evidence is in terms of P hat. My rejection region is in terms of Z. I can't compare apples and oranges. So what do I need to do? What's my next step? I need to convert that P hat into a Z value using this formula. Z is equal to P hat minus P divided by the square root of P times 1 minus P divided by N. Z is equal to 0.848 minus 0.80 all over the square root of 0.80, 1 minus 0.80 divided by 250. So that means the numerator is 0.048. And the denominator, I have a little work to do. So, I don't know if you guys can see that, but 0.20, oops, 0.20, I'm sorry, 0.80 times 0.20, because 1 minus 0.80 is 0.20, divided by 250, take the square root of that whole thing, I get 0.0253. So 0.048 divided by 0.0253 gives me 1.9. If I round, 1.9. Is 1.9 in my rejection region? It is. So I make decision 1, reject the null in favor of the alternative. There's enough evidence to prove this claim is true. If I want to know exactly how much evidence I have, what do I calculate out to figure out exactly how much evidence I have? The p-value. The probability of observing a value at least as extreme as the one computed. The one computed is 1.90. So what's the odds that we get a value as extreme? In this case, greater than 1.90? Well, we have to look up, if I can find my Z table, we have to look up 1.90. Or 1.90 gives me 0.9713. 1 minus 0.9713 gives me 0.0287. That's my p-value. In a word, how much evidence do I have to prove this claim? Strong evidence. The odds that I'm wrong if I make this claim is about 2.87%. That's what the p-value is telling me. Okay? So you guys get this. The same concepts when we did the mean apply to the population proportion. You know, we set up the rejection region, we see if there's enough evidence. Now, the one I really want to do together that I assigned you, because I really like this question, it is, the textbook, I think sometimes the questions are silly, but this is a good one. This is a good business-y example, number 14, okay? Because you may be in this situation. So I'm going to read this, and then you guys help me figure out how we're going to solve this. According to the latest census, The number of households in a large metro area is 100, that's 425,000. The home delivery department of the local newspaper reports that 104,320 households received the newspaper. So that's right now. 104,320 of the 425,000 get our newspaper. But what we're doing is, to increase these sales, our marketing department is launching another campaign, and an ad campaign. A financial analyst tells us that for it to be successful, we have to reach over 110,000. So what we're going to do is, after we run this ad campaign, we want to see if it works, right? And we can't talk to all 425,000 households. So I sample 400. I record the results. Do you get this newspaper in an Excel file? 1 meaning no, 2 meaning yes. And there's 2 parts to this question. The first one says, do these data indicate that the campaign will increase home delivery sales? So help me determine what the hypothesis is. And we got to take the information we have and use that to frame our question. So help me do this. And I want you guys to do this. I don't want to hand it to you, because the 9:30 class I had to hand it to them. I felt dirty after that. I felt like I didn't teach them anything. So I want you guys to help me here. What do I know? What do I currently know? Yes, Robbie. Okay, something I know. Good. I know my sample size. N is equal to 400. I know I ran an ad campaign. What do I know that is where I'm at before the ad campaign? Where am I at, as a newspaper, where am I at before the ad campaign? What tells me where am I at before the ad campaign? What do you know? What do we know? In the business world, how do I know how good I'm doing with a product or a service? How do we measure that? Like if I'm Pop-Tarts, I know I'm killing the toasted pastry industry. I'm just owning that damn thing. And what would they do to assess that? How would Pop-Tarts say, I'm owning the toasted pastry industry? And we got Walmart with their knockoff brands, but I'm killing it. How would they express that they're killing the toasted pastry market? What measure would we use? Come on, you guys got marketing majors in here. If you don't know this, I'm going to tell Miss McFadden. Yes, Daniel. Market share, right? Like how much do I get, right? So if we're looking at this newspaper, Daniel, what's our market share right now? Very good. So we hit 104,320 households out of the 425,000, right? And that is, market share is usually expressed as a percentage. So we're saying 104,320 divided by 425,000. We are currently at 24.5%, we'll say. Now that's what part of the market we have right now. Does that make sense? That's Pop-Tarts has probably got 80% of the toasted pastry market, right? They're killing that damn market. Our newspaper, we have 24.5% market share. That's our market penetration. We did this ad campaign, and the first thing it's asking us is, do these data indicate that the campaign increased home delivery sales? So what am I trying to prove? What am I trying to prove about market share? That it went where, Malik? It increased, right? So it's currently 24.5%. For part A, I'm just trying to say that it went over 24.5%. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to prove. Okay? Where's my evidence? My evidence I gathered was what? A sample of 400. But I don't know how many of those 400 got my newspaper. But I'm going to go to that data file, and it's under Book Excel Files, Chapter 10, and it's XR 10-14. And 1 meant no, we don't get the paper, and 2 meant yes. And there's 400 responses here. Control N takes me to the end, Control Home takes me home again. So what do I need to do to get P hat? What do I need to do? with this data to get p hat? Come on. What would I do? What's that? Sure, I'd do a pivot table. So I'm going to go to insert. Well, let's highlight that data first. Pivot table. Click OK. I'm going to drag delivery of the rows. Drag delivery of the values. Whoops. And it tells us of the 400 I sampled, how many are getting my newspaper? Can you see that? Of the 400, how many are getting my newspaper? One's no, two's yes. 113, okay? But that's not a percentage. I want to make it a percentage, so I'm going to drag deliver down here. Change it, very right. I'm going to change it to value field settings, show value as percentage of grand total. And I know that 28.25% is what my sample proportion is. That is my what? As a statistical term, it's my p hat. Very good. P hat is 28.25%. So it looks promising, right? We're trying to prove that it's greater than 24.5%. I did a sample of 400. I got a p hat of 28.25%. I'm going to use Excel, though, and I'm going to use that test statistics workbook, and I'm going to enter that information in there. So if I go to this test statistics workbook, I'm just going to zero all this out so you guys can help me put these things in. Help me fill out this column B based on what we just learned. Give me something we know in column B. What's something I know in column B? What is my sample proportion? Let's talk about that first. What is my sample proportion? My p hat, what is it? Come on. Very good. It's of the 400, 28.25%. My sample size is 400, very good. And what is my hypothesized proportion? What am I trying to prove it's greater than? 24.5%, so 0.245. It gives me my evidence. One value that I made green. How much, in a word, how much evidence do I have to prove that I increased sales of my newspaper based on this ad campaign? Strong evidence. So I'm happy, right? My ad campaign, I can go to my boss and I can tell her, hey, I have strong evidence to infer that this ad campaign increased sales, that our market share has gone up from 24.5%. But my boss, she's a stickler. She said, you know what, John? We paid a lot of money for that ad campaign, so just increasing isn't enough. You have to increase it by, according to the financial analyst, you have to increase it so that we get 110,000 households. Okay? She said, not just increasing it, but you got to increase it so that our market share of that 425,000 goes up over 110,000. So part B says, do these data allow the publisher to conclude that the campaign was successful, financially successful? Because it costs me money to advertise. I can't just sell one more newspaper. Hell, I got to sell a lot more newspapers to make up for that ad campaign, right? So what is my second hypothesis about that? What is my second hypothesis about it? So it's not that it's greater than 24.5%. What's B? I'm trying to prove in B what? I'm trying to prove what in B? Hypothesis B. I would say for 2 damn weeks. Awful. No concern. Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead. So how did you get that? You're right. How did you get that?
Increase to 110,000, the 28.25 is already greater than that.
Very good. So, what Daniel said is, you know what? For us to be successful, our P has to be greater than 110,000 of those 425,000. So, what would that market share be? 110,000 divided by 425,000. Let's do the math. 110 divided by 425 is 25.9% roughly, 25.88. So we're saying that for us to say this is financially successful, it's got to go over, not just over the 24.5%, but it has to go over 25.9%. So if we go back to our Excel here, what changes in column B? I still sampled 400. I still got 28.25% when I sampled 400. I don't care about alpha. The only thing that changes is my hypothesized proportion. I've said I need to do better. So 0.28, 0.259, I'm sorry, 0.259. And now I get a p-value of 0.1417. Explain that to me. So what do you do now? This is really important. What do you do now? So do you go to your boss and say, this was a failure? How much evidence do you have to prove that it went over 25.9%? How much evidence do you have? You have no evidence. We have a p-value of 14%. However, think about it. I sampled 400, and I got 28.25%. That's higher than 25.9%. I'm thinking maybe I did do it. But this test didn't prove it out to be. It didn't prove that it's less than 25.9%, but it did prove greater than. Why not? Why not? What could I do maybe to get more evidence so that I can make this claim with more? If I make this claim now, there's a 14% chance I'm wrong. How can I get more evidence? Sure. What if I sampled 1,000? And let's say the proportion came out to still be 28.25%. Now, what can I tell my boss? What kind of evidence do I have now to tell her that not only did I increase this damn thing, I increased it so it was financial win for our organization. I can tell her now I have what kind of evidence? I have strong evidence, right? So this is a good business example because one of the things we measure if you're in marketing, right, you want to measure market share. Like how much, you want to measure things like, what does a family of four spend on our product category? How many times do they go out to dinner, right? You're trying to measure things you don't know about your product, right? And if you're in business world, they're not going to say like, it's different than when I assess you. I give you an A, good job, right? Use nice colors here. But when your boss assesses you, he or she is going to say, did you add value to the company, right? And you're going to want to try to prove that, yes, I added value for the organization. This initiative that I went was a success or a failure, right? And if it's a failure, how do you learn from that? How do you go forward? And they're not just going to say, you can BS your way, but they're going to want evidence, right? They're going to want evidence. And the numbers, the money, is what provides the evidence. Yes? Yes. So this is a good business example. Questions on that? All right. So, no new information today. I'm not giving you new material. But what we're going to do today is you guys have a group project, okay, that I put you on teams already. And if I go under a group project on Blackboard and I go to 11 o'clock teams, you'll see a list of teams. So I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Your class, I think 4 teams have 5, or 3 teams have 5, 3 teams have 4. Maybe, yeah, I think that's what it is. So there's 6 teams. These are the teams, all right? And I gave you a team number, but I was feeling creative, so I also gave you a team name. And they're all like stats, like team upper decile, team overwhelming evidence, team inferential. So get t-shirts made. Team Excel, that's a good t-shirt, right? One I gave team 3 standard deviations above average. I like that one. You got to think about that one. That's elite. I have a son who's a pretty good athlete, so he plays like travel basketball, like AAU basketball. And you want to talk about like arrogant team things. they're like ridiculous. Like everyone throws elite at the end of their title. So if you're like from Pittsburgh, it's like Pittsburgh elite. If you're like top level elite all-stars, we're better than you. You know what I'm saying? Maya, did you play AAU basketball? I'm sure you did. What was your team then? Pride, yeah. See, it's always like pride. That's not that bad, but there's some. I bet you 50% of teams have elite in their title. You've seen elite? Yeah, and probably you're looking at like I don't know, like maybe the top 25% of basketball players, maybe there's some bad. Elite is really like what? To be elite, what top percentage do you say if you're really elite? Not top 25%. I'd say higher than 5%. I'd say 1 to 2% is elite, right? If a quarter of the people are as good as you, that's not elite. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a 1%er, right? Outlier. Team outlier. I like that one too. That was a 9:30 name, I think. You guys, 11 o'clock, I ran out of good names. But anyways, here's what we want to do today. Team Upper Decile, that's pretty good, huh? Yeah. Team Z-Tail, that sounds cool. So here's what we're going to do. Team 1 here, 2 there, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't care. You don't have to, but get in your teams, right? So find your partners and get in your teams.
I don't know if you could
This time don't happen.
I don't think you can yet.
I
So
did.
Francis?
Yeah, it won't let me have my account. But like when I try to create one, it says like I have one, but the password won't work, but I never make one. So I don't know. I didn't know if you knew or not.
Yeah, because Lauren Williams this morning was trying to do it, and you got in
Yeah, a lot
under
of
your
people-
ad, Francis.
Yeah, a lot of people got in, but I just don't know.
Yeah, because they said they're changing over on the 28th, but you can do it now.
Yeah, they can do it.
I'd go. You know where the help desk is over in the library? I'd go there because
Like I have, that's like my like.
yeah, that's your personal
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah. But like I like sent out a code to do it,
Yeah.
but it didn't like let me in either.
I
So.
don't know.
Okay.
Because Lauren Williams was trying to do it, and I was trying to help her, and I couldn't help her.
Okay. Yeah. I'll figure it out. Thank you. What is this? I've been asking all like on the like what is this? I don't know.
Bonus points. You got a 3 out of 3 today, Lee. All right. So here's the first thing that we're working on, okay? If you go under group projects, you should see research question survey assignment part 1. Okay, and here's what I want you to do today. And your groups, I want you to brainstorm, hey, what am I interested in studying? And it has to be something you can study with St. Francis students. You can't do Eskimos sleep more than 4 hours. You don't have access to that, right? So it has to be something about St. Francis students. And don't tell me you can't think of anything, because that shows zero creativity, right, and imagination. Anything that you want to study about the St. Francis population, what are their streaming habits of Netflix? What is their what cell phone provider do they use? What is their satisfaction rate of Wi-Fi at St. Francis? Whatever. Okay, the morning class did cell phone usage. Torvian, they did a Torvian kind of thing. One did class time, when do you prefer to have class? And they added to it online Fridays. So what I want you to think about is what you want to study, the reason you want to study that, and this is kind of something I want you to fill out, our research question hypothesis. And then the survey questions we plan to administer are as follows. So usually when you administer something say you're saying, how many hours do you study? That's a question, right? How many hours do you study a week? But you'd also want to put demographic questions with are you a male or female? What school are you in? Business, arts and letters, health sciences, sciences. Are you a student athlete, right? Maybe what sport do you play if you're a student athlete? You know, you want to look at this through many different lenses. So when you design this survey, the research questions, we're going to make a small survey, maybe 10 questions, something like that. But when you think about it, you want to make them like closed-ended, a lot of them closed-ended, so you can analyze them, right? You can't say like, how do you feel today? Because you're going to get paragraphs. How do we analyze that statistically? You might want to say like, hey, what's your mood on a scale of 1 to 10, right? You might say, all right, I'm going to take the average mood, or whatever it might be, you know, or take the percentage of people that are at 7 and higher, right? So you have to use closed-ended questions. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to talk about something you want to study and start thinking about the survey questions as well. I'm going to teach you when we come back from break, I'm going to teach you how to put those on Google Forms, right? You guys seen me do Google Forms? Apparently after break you're all going to have Google, right? You're going to have, so it'll be nice. So I'm going to show you how to use that, and you're going to administer that survey to everyone in STAT302, 9:30 and 11 o'clock class, but there's a problem with that survey. What's the problem with that, just that group? Bias. You're all business majors, you're all juniors and seniors, right? So you're going to have to extend that. Like if you're on SGA, send it to all the SGA senators, or if you're in a frat, send it to all the frat boys, right? Or if you're on the football team, make your football team do it. Tweet it out and say, please complete my survey. It's 2 minutes long, right? So we want to get better response size than 55. I want you to get about 100, at least about 100 surveys, and then we're going to analyze them, right? When you analyze them, you're going to create graphs, you're going to create pivot tables, you're going to do at least one hypothesis test. All these things that I taught you, all these tools that I taught you, you're going to use. There's like 2 on your team right now? Who is it? Oh. All right, okay. All right, so go ahead. I'll come around and help as well. So start talking. Yeah, nothing controversial though, or like personal. Like how much you binge drink, stuff like that, or nothing to get off from each other's problem. Keep it vanilla. Yeah. I guess. Is that really? Yeah. I guess. That's fine. If you want to do that, I'd go further. I'd be like a software. You know, I have a little bit of like gender. You can pretend as if you are doing market research for it.
Well, it's not necessarily.
Off you can look at board meetings. You get dessert before meetings. So, well, that's fine. Like the one group this morning, and you guys have separate groups. They're looking at like meal plans, like what meal plans, platinum, whatever, and then they look at like of those meals how many they're using. You know what I'm saying? And then they're looking at by demographics. So that's like male people. Because males probably use more.
Yeah, it's like gender, what class. Yeah.
Student athlete, non-student athlete. So that'd be fine. Yeah, you can submit. What, you done already? Yeah, you can submit now, right? No. Good question. I put you guys all in groups. So only one person has to submit it from your group, and it's like the group submitted, right? So elect the person to submit it. You could be like, add that to your resume. I was the staff group submitter in 2017.
I don't know.
What else? What did that entail? Well, I submitted things.
We had, do you actually get fair, so you know how often are you so you have a car, you get passed through, or go to I think we should No, that's a good one. Who's in my name? Oh, one.
Well, what's something you're interested in? You guys
Is that kind of like, yeah.
Well, you could do, I mean, yeah.
And then.
You gotta pick a direction. You could do something.
Yeah, it should,
You know, you'd want to look at it like by male and female. You want to look at it by maybe Division I athlete, non-Division I athlete. You'd also have to have an option there like, hey, I don't commit. Or, you know, how many push-ups do you do? Have you done a push-up in the last month? You can do something related to exercise, you know, like how many minutes do you work out a week? How many times do you work out? Yeah, you could be, we're going to study the exercise habits. If I were doing that, I'd say our group wants to study exercise habits, St. Francis University. The reason we want to know is we're curious about it. And you can do that. You can form a bunch of questions around that. Even if you're a student athlete or a non-student athlete, initially it works. You know, probably the exercise. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, with restaurants, their program.
Yeah, you can do some on politics, right?
Yeah, and we get like range, yeah.
I don't know. That could be a
I
little.
mean, they're enormous anyway.
I know it's interesting, right? Yeah.
Do you wanna like look at per week? Or like?
Yeah, I don't think it's right. Why are you
Like,
asking
I'm gonna
about?
go study for an hour, or do you wanna do 12? Because that's too much. I think per week, for like, I don't know, 5, like, yeah, they're just gonna give out like a crappy answer maybe, because they're not gonna be like, oh, I did that. So maybe how many hours do you study?
Or you can do that.
Yeah, what if? They're like, I think that would be closer. Yeah.
So, so we are doing,
Okay, I like that. You're doing a study of, yeah, that's good, like food options, off-campus food options.
I'd say like what class you study for, and just like the title of the class.
are you student?
Right, sure. Do you have a vehicle?
Do you get passed?
Right.
How much money do you?
Okay.
Do you have?
Look at gender replacement agenda. But yeah, I like this. And then maybe you could look at the major areas they go to, like Crescent,
Yeah,
Red Oak.
we asked how.
Okay.
And I would put in those and have multiple choice. Crescent, where do you primarily go? Crescent, Evansburg, Altoona. And not put another option, right?
There's only one thing that we want to
As soon as like I like finish like one episode, okay, I never did this. Well, I would do it like later this week.
Yeah, I know, well,
I
factor.
don't think I submitted all like 40 like one time and still getting.
Really? Okay.
You're like,
Okay.
No, you
I
can
never
eat
like get set up with like late.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell them like I did the wrong one, but I'll just.
So before Christmas, they.
Yeah, he's pretty
they melt
chill.
yeah.
Right.
That's what you do in every class.
I
know, it's
They're sitting and like advertising, and I just look over and you're trying. I'm like, okay.
I hated advertising.
Do you have all this?
Yeah. I have now.
All right, I like it.
I was like,
Also,
just
I heard about it, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like,
fill out that
so
form,
weird.
and I'll
I
give you
like them, but
feedback.
they're just like.
But that's good, I like studying like that market, being off campus. That, you know, that's a good one, because the campus.
Yeah.
It looks like, the link might be
No, not really.
Unless you cheat.
I have class with your sister. I didn't even know that you were sisters.
I didn't know you guys were sisters until like last semester.
Like their
That's
solutions.
what they say, that's really good. I think we're weird because we're always like fighting with each other and stuff, so.
Yeah, I have this CFO setting, like I worry like we're doing
Oh,
the
yeah.
amount of so talk. Yeah.
Salsa, like,
Hilarious.
They put one in the bottom.
Do we look alike?
Oh, really?
I think so.
They were looking at options, there's these
So
things
there
that
was
are
one
like
lady
huge,
walked
like
across my
almost like blocking.
like, how did you know?
Are you guys the same age?
You know, like
20
self-service
months.
kiosks.
But like, she was just like, we're like, how would you ever come up with that? Like, we don't look at like, with like our whole family, like, just how, like, just me and her.
Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't know until like last semester.
He was, my mom and dad.
I think the university is talking to you. We want to put a little small presence.
He told me, he said there's no way that he should go up this summer.
I might go visit my friend at Purdue University. Where is he?
Seasonality.
No, in Indiana.
I've never been.
I was
Okay.
close, I was close.
It's like 2 hours from my house.
I thought
So,
Emily-
and I'm visiting my sister in Michigan.
Oh, it's super fun.
I'm just living life.
Selling it.
I it's like my only week off, so I'm just trying to like get everything in.
Yeah.
I do.
I get to meet my niece.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your idea here?
Where's your preferred place to study?
Yeah, good project.
Isn't that group, hey guys,
Oh, no.
what are you guys doing? Preferred place to study?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys can't do it. I think they told me first.
What's your least favorite place to study? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yes, so you guys think of a better idea.
Do we just have to
Top them.
Do we just have to answer we just have to send out a question or we answer for
All of
What
them.
do you spend the
What
most time?
am I interested in studying?
what we're trying to get, so we're gonna.
What are you guys studying?
Before this one.
Research, research and minor,
We're gonna have to know how to.
Yeah, and then what do you think, what, like the
Yeah, wait,
question?
though, we said that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what are you gonna, like, are you gonna survey? What are you guys gonna do?
Yeah. I have like all the done on that. Do you? Yeah, from last semester
Research.
research.
I don't care.
I wouldn't, yeah, that's all we did for research.
Yeah, I got your stuff, so we're doing
Oh,
that.
yeah.
How many sporting events, what? Okay. So, yeah, I think you could ask that question. You could even do a checkbox, like
put all the 22 Division I sports and check like which of these have you attended this year. You have men's basketball, women's basketball, women's swimming. You know, so that's defined. And I'd ask, I'm guessing my hypothesis would be that student athletes are more likely, yeah, to go just because they want to support all student athletes, right? Yeah, that's gender, school, you know, student athlete status, but yeah, that sounds like, so you're looking at, and then you'd ask a question like, number of sporting events you attended. Make sure you say people have not repeated. If you're playing, it doesn't count as attended. Observe, what do you want to say? All right, that's fine. So you have another idea? So I'm like your, if you have 5 on your team, I'm like your 6th guy, right? So you're gonna submit this, but I'm gonna have suggested changes, which aren't really suggestions. So you're gonna change it to make it better, because I want this to be good, right? I want it to end to be very good. So you can submit, if you have something now, submit it. You know, I'll give you suggestions and you can resubmit until you get like a 10 out of 10, okay? So that's, because I want your grade on this to be good, but I want the product of this to be good. You know what I'm saying? I want to be interested, entertained, I want to learn something, I want the classmates to learn something. You could even ask, you can't have open-ended questions, realizing that like you'd ask like, what would incent you to go to a sporting event? What would incent you? Like, I know the men's basketball game, they give away like beans. Elvis. You have to before. Are you allowed?
March 9th.
Yeah, you guys are lucky that you got all of it. They got all of it. Really? Yeah. Did you get the video of our presentation? Or did you get the video of our presentation or just the paper?
Yeah.
I mean, the paper
Take
is
it like Shay,
The person who hasn't done it.
You don't, right? I
It's
don't.
really like Rachel and Joel are really chill.
Well, percentage,
And so like
percentage class would be by the text.
and they work
It's probably their.
and like
That's
Joe
great.
wasn't supposed to be like our main contact.
How much do you
guy,
spend
into our meetings and stuff.
annually?
So he's like very interested in it, so it's very easy to work with.
It's interesting.
We haven't, I think.
You want to look at, you want to look at,
We
like,
haven't
say,
had
next
one
question, like,
like, we
because I think school
call
health
guys
science
and they
and
never
science,
responded.
I spend more on
And
technical.
so,
They're like-
the,
So anatomy, that's what-
yeah.
They're very much advocates. I like that. That's a good area, that's the right. Right.
Gender, what you are, what school you're in,
Yeah, yeah, so like in parentheses, put like here are the 4 options for my other. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. And if you're asking any question about like where are you from, like region,
You can, in Google, you can put a map
But,
up.
I mean, that doesn't, yeah, are you
You
in
know, like put a map of the United States, and like northeast, and it has that shaded in.
Fresh, or-
I'll show you that.
Yeah, like the.
Yeah, you can go. Have a nice break.
I mean, like, add to it, you know, like, it's what motivated you, excited, and kind of really how you ask why.
No, like the amount, the amount of times you.
I don't know, this is what you need to know.
And then, yes or no car.
So, in the,
Or died or.
like, I have a little, in the thing, I have like, what do you want to study? Why?
Oh, yeah.
Just copy that in.
Oh.
And then when you put in like gender, put in like male, comma, female, that's the choices you're gonna get. Yeah, I wanted the detail, like, and then we're gonna port that to Google Forms.
Are we gonna have a day, like Tuesday, when we come back?
Yeah.
Or Monday, whatever day we do.
Probably Thursday of next week.
Oh.
I'll probably show you guys how to use Google Forms and ask you to start designing your survey in Google Forms. And I have to bless off on that.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
probably. Yeah, just complicated stuff.
Who wants to study here? Where students find Sure. Reason why I want to study is find out where is the place to go to study. So,
Yeah.
research hypothesis is where the thing is number one.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, you could say like, I'm guessing, you know, less than 50% of students use the bookstore as primary, something like that.
Oh, that's not supposed to ask.
Yeah. But research, you'd have a lot of research, it's not like just one by one.
And then, that's as far as the last question. Would you say, so I say this is the last one, so we do, question, survey questions,
Yeah, that's where you put in the questions you're gonna ask.
also we have to add those.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't due till next Thursday, so you don't have to do it right now. Yeah, while you're back.
You guys can leave.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. All right, I like it. Right. All right, those are good. I think you've got a good subset of questions there. I wouldn't go much further than that. You're getting a lot of data from that.
Oh, okay, that's what I was.
That's good, yeah, I like that. Right. No, but I mean, I like some of those, they're very good. And I would ask a question like how many minutes per week? You know what I mean, that would just be in minutes, they put a numeric, like how many minutes a week do you work on? Definitely. That's good, I like that, that's good. That's about it. Yeah, and that you can kind of make, you could say like your research questions are, we want to research, you know, say, do males exercise more than females? You know, I mean, those can be like.
I don't want to say male athletes.